My dad would go to the gas lines and couldn't get gas. So we created this Department of Energy. But over the course of time, when we were importing roughly, and it's very rough numbers, 40% of our oil needs were being imported, that number moved closer to 60%. The Federal Government has failed under two very different types of administrations to wean our way off of the need to import oil from overseas. And yet what I find now is every time I turn around and you see companies willing and wanting to invest heavily with the hope and the idea, the speculation that they're going to be able to actually produce some energy resources, and not just oil, but natural gas, coal, those types of things, that it's the EPA and the BLM, the Department of Interior, that are putting up so many roadblocks that we can't extract the resources that we have in our own very backyard. Now, one of my core questions here is, particularly for the BLM, I'm from Utah, I'm a representative from Utah, is that it appears that the administration, in its frustration and in its inability to actually have legislation passed, is going to go ahead and use its rulemaking authority and just bypass the Congress and put up some rules and roadblocks and implement things that would never pass this body. Even when the Democrats had the House, the Senate, and the presidency, they couldn't pass cap and trade. The Red Rock Wilderness Act is something that's been introduced many times here in Congress, has never even come close to being implemented. And then the wildlands policy, which, kind of 2 days before Christmas is implemented, that should be a flashing red light to the American public that something was wrong when that was introduced. My question for the Deputy Secretary here, in citing those, is it the policy of the BLM to just go ahead and implement this stuff anyway? I mean, at what point does the BLM say, okay, we're going to use this information and we're just going to go with it anyway?
Congressman, the intent of the reform efforts BLM has had is to provide more clarity for industry and for other interests in how the public lands will be used.
But that clarity should be based on what is passed in the United States Congress and signed by the President.
Absolutely. Section 202 of the Federal Lands Management Policy Act provides the authority and the responsibility for BLM to make the decisions that it's making.
But not before it becomes law, correct?
It is law already. We have the regulatory.
If something hasn't become law, then you're not supposed to be dealing with it, right? Let me deal with this first slide here. This is an official map from the BLM, severe lake tracts map, and then it goes through with the number. In one of those designations, if you look over on the right, it talks about, as one of the things, the Red Rock proposal. Why does the BLM issue an official map with the Red Rock proposal designated on it when it has yet to become law?
There is simply a map. There is no regulatory implication to the Red Rock Wilderness area at all, Congressman. What we are trying to do is reduce the problem that has developed in the last several years when prior administrations essentially leased whatever industry nominated wherever. And the protests on those leases.
That is not true. That is such a miscalculation. That is such a gross exaggeration of the reality. You cannot sit here and say, they just leased whatever. That's not true. There are rules and regulations, and they abided by those. It wasn't just sign up and you get it.
The facts
You're losing total credibility when you make a statement like that.
The facts are, Congressman, that in 1998, 1% of the leases nominated and, in fact, leased to industry were protested. When we came into office, 48% of all leases were being protested because of broad-scale concerns that BLM was not taking into account its multiple-use mission and leasing in areas that made sense. We want to reduce the litigation.
I got just a few seconds here. Sorry. On December 22, 2010, Secretary Salazar issued Special Order 3310, which created the wildlands. But it was also the policy of the Department of Interior, it seems to have actually implemented that. Even though when we passed the CR, there is no funding for the wildlands. Is it the policy, yes or no, to implement the wildlands? Is it the policy of the BLM to actually implement it?
We will not implement the wildlands policy. We will honor the congressional rider.
Thank you. My time is
Would the gentleman yield?
Well, Illinois, will you yield? Can I ask one more follow-up question? Thank you. Going back to Deputy Secretary Hayes, Beverly Gorney, who is the spokeswoman for the Wyoming BLM State Office, who said this on April 21st when asked why the BLM pulled 6 oil and gas drilling leases near Adobe Town, Wyoming, quote, "They have everything to do with the secretarial order on wildlands," end quote. Was she wrong or right?
I don't know the specifics. All I do know is that we have informed everyone in the Department that we are complying with the congressional rider dealing with wildlands.
So there should be absolutely no activity in any way, shape, or form anywhere within the BLM to try to implement the Wildlands Act?
No designation of wildlands will occur while that rider is effective, Congressman.
And there should be no preliminary work on putting that in place, correct?
The order's focus is on the designation of land as wildlands. The authority to inventory lands with wilderness characteristics is clearly continuing under the Federal Land Management Policy Act. But I repeat, and to your point, we will not designate any lands as wildlands in respect and compliance with the congressional direction.
Thank you. Thanks to the gentleman from Illinois.
Thank you. We now